You don't feel like yourself anymore because you aren't that woman anymore. Your identity has already shifted, but your mind just hasn't caught up yet. I'm Lisa May Hubie, and I help midlife Christian women entrepreneurs understand the inner architecture of identity, psychologically, spiritually, and prophetically, so they can step into who God has actually created them to become. Now, when you don't feel like yourself anymore, you're experiencing an identity dissonance. This is a disconnect, and it's a mismatch between who you've been operating from and who God is actually calling you to embody now. This dissonance shows up often as emotional instability, a lack of motivation, sudden discomfort in your own life. So let's talk about what identity actually is, right? So identity is a blueprint. It's a combination of beliefs, expectations, assignments, rules, patterns, self-perception, and spiritual calling. Now, the reason why midlife often triggers identity upgrades, because we start to see old roles retiring, new desires emerging, our emotional resilience changes. God often shifts our assignment, usually right in the middle when something was really going well. Psychological development enters its second peak, and spiritual sensitivity increases. So this is why midlife equals identity disruption. So you don't feel like yourself right now because you're caught between these two identities, right? This is what I call the double identity trap. This is the past identity, right? This is the familiar but expired version of you clashing with that new emerging identity, right? It's true, you know it in your bones, but it's not yet fully integrated. So what happens is this gap creates a type of emotional whiplash, right? You keep going between the two. It creates a lot of self-doubt, inconsistency, disorientation. There's often an inability to commit, maybe even a loss of passion for what you're currently doing, and a discomfort in your own skin. It's like nothing fits anymore. So let me break down the 3 layers of identity. So I'm just going to hop over and share my whiteboard here. So the first layer is cognitive dissonance, right? This is when your thoughts no longer match your desires. So you might think that you should be working over here and building this thing here, but what you really desire to do is over here, right? So this is the disconnect on the first layer. Now, the second layer is emotional displacement, right? This is where your feelings no longer match your life. You know there's more meant for you. And the third layer is spiritual disruption. God is elevating your inner identity before he changes your outer assignment. So for instance, for over 2 years, I knew I was not called to be the content and messaging queen. I was not called to be necessarily in business, that there was something more for me to be doing. I had a bigger assignment than where I was playing, but I chose to keep staying in that old identity. It was familiar, but it was expired. So everything I created was really hard. It was heavy. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And when I changed that, all of a sudden, everything I created started getting more engagement. Women were coming out of the woodwork and sharing different stories with me. And people I hadn't heard from in over 2 years were suddenly showing up in my inbox. This is how fast and how miraculous this is when you start to embody the identity that God has in mind for you. So this is why nothing feels like you right now, right? So maybe your old habits feel forced. Your old standards just feel wrong. Old work starts to feel meaningless, or maybe it's lacking depth and you really crave for deeper conversations in business, deeper meaning to your work. Your old social circle starts to feel kind of out of sync. You just don't jive with them anymore. And your old ways of being start to feel too small, right? This is literally your identity dying off. So now let's dive into the identity stabilization framework. All right, here we go. So what usually happens is people try to operate the wrong way. Most people, we start trying this. When in actual fact, we need to be operating from the inside out, right? You've heard the expression be, do, have. Well, the being is the identity layer, right? We need to be doing this from the inside out because our identity affects everything in our lives. This affects our business, how we show up, where we create from, our vision. But so many people start with the expression piece. So this was me, right? Not too long ago, I was trying to go from expression into identity instead of the other way around. So our way of being enable us to be the person to do what's required for us to achieve whatever we want in life, whatever God is calling to us to achieve. We begin to embody that. Excuse me, I missed one. Our identity is our way of being, but then we align with that, right? We start to align with what God is truly calling to us. Then we embody it. And then finally, we're able to express it. This is our voice. And especially as entrepreneurs, our voice is a weapon. So whether your voice is on video, whether your voice is speaking on workshops and sales, written, right? Your voice is a weapon. But it's only once you're able to get all these in alignment and incorporate this identity stabilization framework that you have the clarity, the calling, the visibility, and the confidence that you need to fully embrace this next chapter. And when you understand the architecture of identity, not just the feelings, this is when you stop fearing change and the death of your old identity, and you really start partnering with God and embracing that new one. So I hope this video serves you and blesses you. And I would love to see you subscribe for more faith-led identity transformation videos. If you don't feel like yourself right now, that's not a crisis. It's an upgrade. We'll see you next time.